A really interesting one up here next that I think both of us are curious to see how it plays out because it's hard to pick. It's Lucas the Hulk Barbosa versus Roberto Cyborg. We see Cyborg 11 years the senior of Barbosa, but don't let that fool you. Barbosa, a very, very experienced competitor. As you mentioned earlier on in the day, not as experienced as Cyborg, but I would say definitely above those kind of mistakes that you would typically see out of someone that is still newer or maybe not as veteran as someone else. I would say both of these guys are above those sort of silly mistakes. These guys are both very, very salty competitors.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a very tactical match. They're going to be aggressive on their feet, but these guys are not going to make a whole bunch of mistakes. Very experienced competitors. They know each other well. And
we're going to see some violent collar ties here.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, we saw Cyborg mostly play on top in his match against Victor Hugo, but Cyborg can play top and bottom, and he can be dangerous on both. It's looking that he's starting on the feet here. Robert, is that what you would expect out of Cyborg in this match?
Absolutely. I think that this is going to be a stand-up match. I could see maybe Cyborg pulling guard at some point. I don't think he will, but I don't see Lucas Barbosa pulling guard.
Lucas getting in on that single there, and you mentioning earlier in the day the single leg being one of the foremost most important takedowns to be good at if for all different forms of grappling.
I think the top four go single, double, Ippon Inagi, and fireman's carry or kataguruma, right? So I would rank those four probably the most important ones in jiu-jitsu, but if I had to really choose, it would be the single. I think it's the most important takedown. Beautiful, and points. Wow, second time he gets that, same single.
Yeah, exactly the same way it looked like on Spriggs just earlier in the match. And I was surprised at how uncontested that single leg was from Cyborg. Cyborg sort of let him kind of pick up on that single leg, and he kind of played it cool as if he was going to counter off of it.
I think that he might be like a little too confident about his single defense, but Lucas Barbosa's single has been it's proven to be on point. The guy's not skipping a beat with that. He took Tim Spriggs down, and now Cyborg. He's up by 2, and this is no bueno for Cyborg. Like, he's going to have to be very aggressive now, and you always have to open up more when you're losing, right? So, which a lot of times, I did it. Okay, I already know what's going on in Alto San Diego. You want me to guess? You want me to say it? They're wrestling a lot. Am I wrong here?
No, they absolutely
I
are.
Guarantee you, it's either Josh Hinger or there's someone the wrestling coach, and then they're putting a lot of time into this because I've been saying it. I know I'm repeating myself here, Tyler, but this ADCC is going to be even more wrestling than the last time, and it speaks volumes about what is actually efficient in competition.
And I think we're watching something that you've touched on a couple times, Robert, and that's the evolution and the importance of wrestling in no-gi jiu-jitsu, because I think you're looking at someone like Roberto Cyborg who has competed over generations of no-gi jiu-jitsu. Lucas Barbosa, I would say he's very much ingrained in is a modern fixture of jiu-jitsu competition, and I think you're seeing him adopt the importance of this wrestling and establishing
and it has
control.
to do with the fact that sweeping in no-gi is so much harder. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, guys. I'm saying on average, if you looked at it, I would guess that there are a lot more sweeps in the gi than no-gi. And I think it's because it's just harder. You have less to control in the bottom. And in other words, guard becomes more defensive in no-gi, right? Whereas it can be very aggressive in the gi. When in terms of no-gi, it's more of a defensive position. That's why you see people, less inclined to pull guard in no-gi and just really fight for that top position.
And this match right now really signifies how important the wrestling is, because you've got Lucas Barbosa, who is, he basically has wrestled his way to a 4-0 lead, and on the feet now, he's got to feel really, really good about his chances with 6 minutes and 38 seconds left to go. 4-0 is a big lead when you want to stay on your feet.
Absolutely. So Cyborg is, he's going to have to basically take him down and pass, or get a submission. I mean, it's just getting harder and harder. Every second that goes by, Lucas is closer to his win, and Lucas. He scored 2 takes in a row. I could see him going for that single again. He seems pretty light. There you got exactly. I think that, and you're right. Cyborg's almost like a little like letting him get to it. If you're confident he's going to do it, but he's going to take him down twice with it. So, he should be a little more defensive there on that snatch.
I felt like Cyborg in the first match against Victor Hugo was a lot more aggressive, and was maybe a little bit.
There we
Cyborg
go.
coming in.
There we go. Okay, I'm giving 2 for that. Let's see what the ref's going to do.
I think they're going to give him an advantage for it based on when they called time.
Yeah.
They're going to penalize. Oh, yep. The penalty in 2. So they're saying that Barbosa fled the mat.
I'm not sure. I agree with that. I don't think he fled the mat. I think he was just really defending it. Where else was he going to go? But I do believe it was 2.
I think they're going to take a look at the replay. There is a way of distinguishing when you're basically trying to get out of a takedown versus when you're basically kind of fleeing out of bounds.
Yeah, but what the head refs, with the replay didn't say anything. So there goes that single again. This is about to get really interesting, man.
Yeah.
Look at this.
But see, now look, Cyborg is contesting these takedowns more, Robert.
Yes.
Am I crazy here?
No, you're absolutely correct. I think he got fired up, kind of, maybe more warmed up and like really into the match now. But we're halfway through, and Lucas Barbosa is up by 2 points, but he has a negative, meaning if Cyborg takes him down, Cyborg's going to be ahead. So they both understand this. Lucas can't be too defensive because he can't afford to be taken down, and Cyborg is behind. So they're both aggressive at this point.
Those points seem to have kind of woken him up here just a little bit. And
Absolutely.
And I think it really changes the dynamic of this match, especially knowing that he can score on Barbosa from the feet here. And this is really the Cyborg that I think, and now Barbosa back in on the single leg.
Cyborg with that defense, and
nice
beautiful
counter.
transition. All right, 4 minutes, 20 seconds left. This is getting really exciting here, Tyler.
Yeah, and just like you were talking about earlier, partner, the wrestling really being what's defining this match, right?
And it's going to keep happening. Like, I highly recommend coaches, students. Oh, deep on that shot. This could be it. This could be 2.
Cyborg got a great hold on the ground. And Cyborg really powering up for that takedown here.
But he's got to keep his knees, at least one knee on the ground for 3 seconds. Because Lucas' knees were off the ground, it doesn't count.
And Cyborg, maybe the more he waits here, Robert, would you say he's losing his opportunity maybe to finish this?
Absolutely, yes. But they're both taking a little break now because they just went. They had a little sprint. They're both breathing. They're about to go again. Cyborg has got a good back attack, man. Like, Lucas has got to be careful. That's the thing about standing up and preventing those 2 points is that you expose your back. So this could go either way. If I were Lucas, there you go again. He needs to hold him down 3 seconds. That's why he's pulling those knees off the ground. Very good rep. Nope. That's not points.
He cannot get that knee down, and he just great job by Barbosa, knowing exactly.
Let's see if he's going to get to 2.
Let's see if this is going to be fleeing the mat again or not. I mean, Barbosa did not intentionally go out of bounds here.
But here's the thing, like, there's a thin line between intentional and unintentional when you're at the edge of the match, because you can purposely try to escape. And did he get him 2?
Yeah, it's the same.
2 points. Wow.
And that's going to put Cyborg ahead here. And, I mean, he deserves it because the truth is you take away the boundary area and Barbosa is going to be on the bottom there.
Yeah, and this changes everything. Wow, good for Cyborg. I like both these guys, but there's a little part of me that is rooting for Cyborg. He's a good friend of mine. But it could go either way. Like, they still got just under 3 minutes left. Barbosa's still got more in his gas tank. He's looking a little worn out, but I think he still can get that single. But at this point, Cyborg,
And a nice shot here by Cyborg.
Beautiful control. Yeah, he's got a snap there. It's hard, man. It's so slippery. And Lucas with that shot.
Ooh, Cyborg, that may have been a mistake there to switch off to that Kimura and letting Barbosa get in deeper on the single leg here.
Cyborg does want to go out of bounds now, but he has to defend by, so there's a thin line there, man. Like, people get away with it. Some people are really good actors. By the way, acting plays a role in jiu-jitsu, in case you're wondering. You can trick these refs into actually, getting them to believe you're doing something when you're in fact doing something completely different. Yep, good defense.
Yeah, Cyborg gets himself away from that single leg. Barbosa has had success getting in on that single leg, and that is a risk for Cyborg, even though he's done a better job here late in the match of defending against it.
Actually, Barbosa's looking worn out. Like, Cyborg's looking a lot fresh. I was just going to say he looked fresh, but no, he's actually looking a little worn here. And this works really well in Cyborg's favor.
when we've seen Cyborg at his best, he truly is one of the best no-gi grapplers on the planet. I mean, he's ADCC absolute champion. I'm correct in saying that, right?
Yes, absolute champion. Just overall well accomplished, man. He's been training and competing forever. Like me and Cyborg go way back. I remember as a purple competing. You know, I fought him like brown, black belt. We were in the same competition. We were in the same division many times, and he's always like not only a great competitor, but like such a great guy, man. He's just always kept his humility. It's never gone up to his head. Such a nice and approachable person. He's like one of the good guys in jiu-jitsu.
1 minute left to go.
Nice.
And this one, it's tied up, but with Barbosa having 2 penalties against him, Cyborg is...
So Cyborg is smart enough to remain aggressive, not get too defensive, not to get a penalty scored on him, or to let Lucas, you know, get too comfortable with his aggression.
And you mentioned this earlier, but Lucas looking pretty worn out here.
Yeah.
With 32 seconds left to go, and Cyborg with the edge on the penalties, as I just mentioned. And I think Barbosa's, he's losing his opportunity here.
20 seconds left,
to set
and
something up.
I think Cyborg's got this, man. I think this fight is over. Lucas is looking too worn out. Like he's lost his setups. That single's no longer there.
Cyborg now doing a really good job of engaging Barbosa first, so Barbosa can't really put the heat on him here at the end. And that's going to be it. Roberto Cyborg moves on to the finals to face Joao Rocha in the no-gi heavyweight Grand Prix.
Amazing performance by Cyborg. I actually thought Lucas had him there for a second, man. When he got those 2 singles, I'm like, this is it.
He's going to run away. I thought the same.
I will say this, though. I do feel that Lucas, that negative, that first negative, changed the whole fight.
It did.
Because from that point onwards, Cyborg, all he needed was a takedown win, and Lucas lost that huge advantage that he had, which was like basically 2 points ahead of Cyborg. I don't agree with that negative. I don't think he purposely ran out of bounds. It was definitely 2 points, but I don't think he purposely went out of bounds. But he was just trying to get out of the single. But man, what a win for Cyborg. Good for him.
Yeah, and I think this makes for a very interesting final because, as I mentioned before, I mean, the Cyborg that we watched the end of that match is good enough to win this tournament, to beat Joao Rocha. But I don't know that he can come in cold and almost maybe not is